Hola from the Dominican Republic. And here it is, Lynn Jacob of MLJinternational.com again. And this is number 3 of this series of broadcasts on dispelling the myth that once you've worked with a business coach, you should never need to work with a business coach again. I've given you a couple of examples of predicaments that people have gotten themselves into, and I say they got themselves into those because they knew the solution. They were struggling in their businesses after we had worked together, after they had up-leveled their business phenomenally in a short period of time, having tons more fun, receiving so much more in profits, just having so much more fun is enough in itself. I mean, to be able to bring your business down here to this gorgeous complex I'm in, that's, about 3-minute walk to the beach, and there's a gorgeous pool right off my balcony. I mean, it's fabulous. It's all about having more fun in your business. That's what I help people do. And the more fun we're having, the more profits that simply come into your business. Yeah, I know. It sounds too good to be true. Well, talk to my clients, the ones who have continued to work with me. I've given you a couple of stories about clients. This doesn't happen to all clients, but it does happen to many, where they've invested in themselves. They've worked with somebody from outside, such as myself, and then they think, well, I've got all that information. Now I just need to continue doing what I've learned from Lynn or whomever to do with my business. But we've never been at this up level before, right? So your business is wherever it is when we start working together, and we up level it immediately. Like Ed very recently started working with me, and inside of 8 days, he signed a $200,000 contract. It will be hard for him to make so little in profits that he doesn't recuperate his entire investment in the 6-month one-on-one private coaching program with me. At any rate, so we up level, and then we up level again, and we up level again, and then if we stop getting outside expertise and assistance, what happens is we will continue to up level, but not so quickly and not so easily, and then things get to be not quite so much fun, and so we just start coming down and down and down. Some people can just make a shoot down, but not that. I'm just saying people just come down. Okay, when you see yourself coming down, reach out, get more help. Why? Because you've never been here before. Down here, you worked with a coach. And you got up here and you were working with a coach. And up here and you were working with a coach. Now you're not working with a coach anymore. As you get up to that next level, well, you've never been there before. So now I'm going to share a story about the client who has worked with me for the longest period. We started working together in 07. We're still working together today. But in 07, in 06 we first met at a workshop that I did through his association. And when he walked out that room at the end of the day, where I trained on all of my 7 key business strategies. So if you would like to have me come to your association and do a 1-day workshop, I'd love to do that. Reach out, give me a call. It's so much fun. It gives me an opportunity to sing and dance in front of a group of people. However, this fellow walked out the door, and 2 weeks later, that was December 14th, I remember, 06. Around 2 weeks later, it was the 2nd of January, because it was the first day of the new calendar year where we're working. And I get a call from him, and he said, I have reflected more on my business in the past 14 days than in the previous 14 years that I've been in business. He tells me that in October, he'd made a decision, when all their summer work, and the flurry of the summer work was finished, all the jobs were closing down, then he decided, I'm just not doing this anymore. And he decided to throw in the towel, his words, and get a job at the only place he knew where he had apprenticed. Okay? But he wouldn't do it until the end of the year. Make sure that all the jobs were closed up, etc. And when he gave his, I think he had 8 employees at the time, but when he gave his team their Christmas bonus, he was also going to wrap it inside separation papers, telling them they too needed to get a job because there was no more business to come back to in January. By the grace of God, he didn't know how to make decisions back then. And I won't get into that today. However, he said that he had just been sick and tired of putting his head down and plowing through the day, day after day after day. You know the expressions? Have you ever felt it? That's where he was. So in November, when he saw that I was going to be coming to his association gathering and doing a workshop in December, he signed up for it immediately. Then he called me in January and he said, you know what? I've decided to work with you in that year-long program. Then at the end of the year, if nothing's different, I will continue with my original plan, throw in the towel, and then I'll feel good when I look at myself in the mirror, knowing I've done everything that there was to do to save my business. Well, we started working together in March. I mean, we did a couple little things in the meantime, but the program started in March. And let me tell you, when I was helping him, give me his credit card number or whatever. Maybe he sent me a check. I don't remember. It was so long ago. But when I was telling him what the investment amount was for this program, he said, whoa, that's a lot of money. To him, it was, of course. He had never invested in himself before. And let me tell you, that program went to 10 times as much a few years ago. So still, today, people say to me, oh, that's a lot of money. And I promise, anybody who works with me, I promise them, together we will stay focused on making damn sure that you recuperate that investment that you're making in yourself through this program, working with me. And when you develop the habit of recuperating that investment, then you're just going to step into the ROI and it's going to become a habit. Okay, so this fellow stepped into the program. A year and a half, no, less than a year and a half later, let's say a year and a quarter later, he said, you know what, Lynn, I'm going to take a break now, because at this point we're having private coaching. It wasn't the group program that he first joined. He continued to coach with me. He didn't stop. And so he said, I'm going to take a break. Give me a call again in October and we'll pick up from where we left off. Great. Sweet. The coach is just the facilitator. It's the client who makes the decisions. So I called him in October and he returned my call in February. And when he did, he said, I can't believe it. I feel like I'm right back where I was when we first met. Really? So tell me where you are, because I know that he had made some huge changes to his business. He invested in a very high-end key employee. And I don't know if I'm going to have the time in this video. It could go on for days. But with this key employee, he nearly didn't make that investment in him. So what happened for this key employee, we started working together in March in this program. He was working with a headhunter. I was helping him follow through on all of his ideas, all of the steps that were coming up, all of the decisions he thought he was making and not following through on. That's what coaching is the accountability, the clarity, what it is you really want, helping you get clear on what the steps are, and the accountability for you to follow through on what you say you're going to do. So he worked with a headhunter. He interviewed 3 candidates, I think, for this position of estimator and project manager. And he wanted somebody who was an expert at it. He didn't want somebody at his level or lower. He'd tried that before, and it cost him a lot of money. But it cost him more headache and heartache than it did money. At any rate, so then he says to me, yep, okay, I've been through the 3, and this is the guy, and I'm going to make him an offer. So all I have to do is step to do that was to contact the headhunter. The next week in our coaching session, no, I've changed my mind. What? What happened between last week and today? Well, over the weekend, I discussed it with my wife. Oh, did you now? Is your wife an active participant in your business? I hadn't heard of her activity in the business before. No, but she's my wife. She's an employee. Nothing wrong with being an employee. It's just that she's an employee. She's not an entrepreneur. Very different mindsets, right? She said, "What? You've never been able to make that kind of money every year for any years in a row. How could you possibly offer to pay this guy that much?" "Yeah, you're right," he says, "of course." Okay, fine. So in this coaching session, I remember, and this has been years, my gosh, it's how many years? That was 07. Yep, it was 07. So 11 years. And I said, "So for how long could you afford to pay this guy's salary before he needed to be bringing the money into your business to pay his own salary?" Didn't take him any long at all to see that. He said, "Oh my God, Lynn, if this guy comes in and he does what he says he can do, that means that I'm going to be able to open that new branch of my business that we've been talking about. That'll give me the time to do that, etc., etc. 6 months, I'll be bringing in enough money to pay his salary." That's him still, his business. And I said, "Okay, but what about this fellow?" "Oh no, I mean, listen, I can afford to cover his salary easily for 6 months. And by then, he needs to be bringing projects in that will pay his salary." Sweet. Okay. So, 6 months to the month. I wish I'd written it down. 6 months to the month. My client is on his way up north in his truck with 2 sleds in the back and his wife sitting beside him, and he gets a call. And he says to me, now we weren't on vacation yet. Remember, I was still driving, because when they go away, I help all of my clients learn to turn the phone off, because they've got good people back at the ranch taking care of everything. So he answers the call, and it was his key employee. He knew it was him calling. He won the bid, and that project was worth more than my client had ever reached in 1 year in his business. More. So I won't give you the numbers, but I can tell you that my client was banging his head on that $1 million ceiling. He just couldn't crack that $1 million ceiling. And this project is more than that. At the end of the project, I think it went on for I can't remember how long it went on, but anyway, it came in at 3.4, 3.8 million dollars. So talk about a win. Okay, so now in all of this time, I've heard, about this guy's results and all that stuff. Is he paying for his salary many times over? Now my client has not coached with me from about July or August, let's say, until February, and he says he feels like he's right back where he was when we first met. So where are you now? Well, he explained about that project and how it was, so big and so profitable, I must add. He shared the profit with everybody in his company, not just the guys who worked on it, but everybody in his company, because everybody played a pivotal role in making darn sure that this project was completed in the way it was. So he explained about where he was, and I said, but you've never been here before. What would make you think that, you could expect to do this on your own without ever having experienced these kind of results before? Yeah, that makes sense. So it turned out that his first ever 3-year vision, so in my 7 simple strategies for success that I train on in the 7 simple strategies for success teleseminar program, that I train on in the Trade Contractors Business College, which is the entrepreneurial college, as is the teleseminar program. It's just not in person, it's by teleseminar. The Trade Contractors Business College is a much bigger program and entails a lot more, and there's a lot of in-person training as well as one-on-one, etc. But in both of those programs, strategy number 1 is your 3-year vision. So I help people construct likely their first ever 3-year vision that compels them. So it's a compelling 3-year vision, one that draws you to it. Well, he created his, he really did. We started in March, and he went off on his 3-day retreat, and created that vision in May. In less than a year and a half, he had surpassed his first ever 3-year vision. And he said to me, Lynn, you know, we really don't even know how to dream. You're right. You're absolutely right. So it was that May, 2 years after the first time he created a 3-year vision, that May he went and created his second 3-year vision. And he's created 3-year visions ever since. But let me tell you about some of the things that he has accomplished in this time. And I want to make it clear here that he's accomplished these phenomenal results, but not without overcoming challenges. So imagine that you're running a race and it's hurdles. Okay, you remember in high school and we learned how to do the great hurdle stretch with our legs and all that stuff. So he's jumping over these hurdles as he goes. And I help people run that race and keep on jumping over the hurdles. Do they ever like knock their knee or pull their foot and knock the hurdle over? Yes, sometimes they do. And I help them learn from that instead of get so angry that they want to pack it in. And I help them learn from that and keep on moving. Get on to the next hurdle and keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. So in this time that we've been working together, since a little before March 2007, or the first workshop that he attended was December 2006, until today, but even go back to the 10-year mark, it's been 11 and a half years almost. So go back to the 10-year mark. And what he had accomplished is phenomenal. But yes, he jumped over hurdles. He cleared hurdles in the meantime, like all the time. Like very recently, we've been working on something, but he doesn't get emotionally involved in it so much anymore. A little bit, and then because we're coaching every 2 weeks now, then he's able to overcome it. So one of the things that we were talking about is how he would have the Monday morning blues on a Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. Really? So what could he do? First of all, I say really because that's like an employee mindset. Oh my God, I gotta go to work tomorrow. It's not going to work. It's his business. So, I mean, I totally get that he wanted to pack it in because it became a job for him. That's why he was going to throw in the towel. At any rate, so this is like just a couple of months after we start working together, maybe 3 months, let's say. And I asked him, so what could you do on a Sunday evening, Sunday afternoon, plan it for the Sunday evening, to keep the weekend going so that you don't have that downtime and go, oh, I gotta go to work tomorrow. Well, what he decided was, it was nice summer weather, so we're all, as a family, going to go on our bicycles and go get ice cream cones. Or we're going to go out for dinner, or we're going to have people over for dinner, so we're going to do something every Sunday evening to avoid the Monday morning blues from creeping in. Sufficient time for them to creep in on Monday morning when you get up, right? So then from there, that was going lovely. And I said, so what about you? What is it that you do for yourself outside of the business and outside of the family? Huh? Business owners don't do that. All they do, and especially, you know, contractors, because I work primarily, not only, but primarily with the construction industry. So they don't have a life outside of the business. That's strategy number 7, by the way. Strategy number 1 is to design your creation. Construct a compelling 3-year vision. Number 7 is get a life outside of the business. Love what you do and do what you love. So he didn't do anything outside of the business that wasn't with the family. And get this one. Yes. This is going to be a long video, so, you know, feel free to pause and come back. But there was a time, maybe we've been working together for a couple of years or maybe 3 years, where he said that they were having a family gathering at some point, and somebody talked about, remember when? And he goes, oh, well, I wasn't at that gathering. And they said, yes, you were. No, I wasn't. No, I don't remember being there. No, I wasn't there. They went and pulled out a picture, and there he is, in body, but not in spirit. His mind, his heart was all back at all the problems of the business or wherever it was. But he wasn't even plugged into the family events that he was showing up for, in body only. So a life outside of the business, a life outside of the family for himself. Everybody needs it. You do, I do, everybody needs it. Now it's like golf. You know what? I'm going to take golf lessons. So he's going to take them on a Wednesday. And I could go on and on with details on how he figured it all out. Eventually, in a short time, it was all day Wednesday, because going Wednesday afternoon, he never got out of the business. Wednesday morning worked really well, but why go back to the business now? So he was taking golf lessons, and then he would have people, like, pair up with people. I don't know anything about golf, but anyway, he would gather with people to golf. He would do lunch, all that stuff, and he would make Wednesday a fun day. So now he only had Monday, Tuesday, and like a weekend day, but it was even more fun sometimes than the weekend when you've got the chores around the house, etc. And then Thursday was like a Monday, but he didn't have the Monday morning blues, and nor did he for Monday anymore. So he was working Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, Friday. And he recognized way back then that everything ran so smoothly when he wasn't there, that he recognized that he was being a cog in the wheel of growing his business and moving it forward. Okay, so he plays golf. And what are the benefits of feeling more comfortable and more confident in playing golf? Well, he was getting invitations to golf with people, his suppliers, etc., in these tournaments. So they're paying for his golfing. Yeah, sure, I'll go golfing. But he also was receiving invitations, high buyers, let's say. That's how he got that trip. 5-star all the way, first class travel, everything paid for by the supply company. Why? Because he had grown his business to the point that he had increased his sales dramatically. This is thanks to hiring this key person, and also thanks to his gaining the confidence in playing golf. Okay, 2 years of playing golf, and he says, Lynn, you know what? I really don't like golf. And I had nothing to do with that. I detest golf, but I never said it. He never knew. At any rate, from there, I said, okay, so what's another activity that you could be doing? And this time, I want you to think outside of the box. We always have to start from where we are. If he had thought outside of the box, he wouldn't have been able to think of much anyway. So he started from where he was. Now, golf doesn't, turn his crank anymore. So what is it that you've maybe never thought of before? Or maybe you've only had a glimpse of and wondered what it might be like, but something that not even your friends do. Something that's a real stretch for you. Because we never get out of our comfort zone. Our comfort zone is where we are, but we're stretching our comfort zone. So he comes back in the next coaching session, or maybe 2 after that, and he said, I've come up with it. It's deep sea diving. Well, first scuba diving. Scuba diving was the first one. Well, he did, and then it grew into deep sea diving, and he was sure that his wife was not going to want to join him in this when he first started it. But he was hoping. Well, she ended up becoming certified as a deep sea diver before he did. So she really bought into it even faster than golf. And remember, this is all while he's having challenges in the business, but he keeps growing them. So at one point, he takes his wife on a birthday present, deep sea diving excursion, 5-star everything all the way. I'm not sure that they actually sat at the front of the plane. That was a stretch for him to get there. He really had to work on that one. But once he remembers that planning that trip was like the biggest thing he'd ever done, and buying this toy that I'm going to tell you about in a minute took not 1/4 of the time, he said, as him planning that first 5-star trip. So anyway, they stepped into that 5-star trip, and they went to, I think, a sandals resort or something, and then you become a member, and then if you book now for your next vacation, then you get time off, you get points or money off or something. I don't know exactly how it works because that's not my gig. However, they now take these 5-star vacations at the drop of a hat. Just like that. I'm not kidding. Like every second month, they're going somewhere. So in the meantime, he buys this fifth wheel, camper, like luxurious, like you couldn't believe. And when he and his wife first saw that one in the catalog coming out, he said, who in their right mind would pay that kind of money for a camper? That's insane. 2 years later, he sees it on the lot and he says, whoa, that's sweet. Well, in the meantime, he has purchased another business, gone through some struggles with that, etc., etc. He's in a whole different tax bracket, let's call it. And he buys this camper. He places it on order for the spring. They just went out on a rainy November Saturday for something to do. And he walks out of there with a contract for this camper that people would have to be crazy, insane, out of their minds to buy. That's the level he's now at. After that, maybe a year or so after that, they go on this 3-week completely unplugged vacation that he has heard me talk about for so many years. And he was actually away from his business for about 4.5 weeks for this 3-week vacation. It was deep sea diving in the Timor Sea off Indonesia. And let me tell you, there ain't no cell reception there. So he comes back and he turns his phone on when he gets back into Toronto, the airport. There's a problem. Nothing that took any length of time to deal with. But they didn't have a problem until that very day that Daddy landed. Now, I'm not being snarky or snide towards his employees. It's just that that's the way things are done around here. That when he's around, they let him take care of the stuff. That's why he's not around very much anymore. And when he got back and he saw this glitch that happened, that if he hadn't been around, what would they have done? They wouldn't have reached out to him. They would have just dealt with it. And so what he's learning even more and more and more is that he truly is the cog in the wheel of his business, moving forward faster and more easily. And like I say, this glitch was almost nothing. It's just that they sent it to him knowing he was arriving today. Okay, so then before we have our first coaching session after he gets back from Indonesia and other places along the way, he knew the question I was going to ask, which was going to be, okay, now you've had that big experience that you've been leading up to over the last 2 years or maybe 3 years of deep sea diving. What's the next step? What's the next big thing that you can put yourself into? And he already, before we had our coaching session, signed up for flying lessons. Flying lessons. Inside of a year, he had reached 3 levels of certification, 3 different levels of certification, and he was researching airplanes. He was going to maybe buy his own plane, maybe in a year and a half or 2 years from now, but it gives him time, to do some research. Right. Well, he talked to a broker, and this is inside of a year of him starting to take flying lessons. It had been something that he had as a young adult or teenager. It was when he was in college, so it was right after school and in college. So he was talking to a broker, and then she calls back about the 1-year mark of him starting to take his lessons. And she calls him and says, you remember that plane we were talking about? Well, that sale didn't go through. So if you're still interested, well, he was levitating. I mean, he was so excited. And our coaching session just happened to be the next day, and he was just on cloud 9 in 7th heaven. And he bought it, and he's flying it now. And it's a business plane because he's flying his project managers to job sites. Talk about bringing fun into the business. That's what I can help you do. I promise. So this fellow has, oh yes, Freedom 55. I wanted to mention Freedom 55. If you're Canadian, you know the commercial. He's 52 years old. And when we first started working together, He used to tell me, he was the one I learned this, well, you know, Freedom 55. Well, yes, I knew the commercial, but I didn't know what he was referring to. Well, it's something all contractors in the construction industry know about. Just another client started working with me maybe 3 months ago, 6 months ago, something like that. And he said, yeah, well, I can't tell you what I do want, but I'll tell you. It looks like Freedom 55 is in the past. That's not going to happen for me because I've only got a couple of years till I get there. Really? I can help you get there in a couple of years. So, if any of this speaks to you, do speak to me. This is the value of ongoing coaching. He did stop coaching between, I think, July and February, or August and February. He was only going to stop for about 3 months or 2 months. But he didn't call me back until February, until he was feeling the pinch. He was just fed up again. You don't have to get there. Imagine how much faster you can move when you don't have shackles and leg irons on. Just imagine. So this is what I want everybody to know out there, that it's a myth that once you work with a business coach for a particular length of time for the program that fits you best at that moment, no, don't stop there. Hell no. Why would you stop the race now? Keep on going until you sell your businesses. And that's what this fellow is doing now. For the past few years, he's been preparing his 2 businesses for sale. And they're both ready anytime he is. But he's not ready. He's got this plane flying as project managers around at job sites and going off on not just weekends, but going off, midweek with friends, and when his wife can get the time off work with her, and on weekends with his wife. He's just flying around, having fun. He has a life outside of the business. So when you start coaching with any coach out there, maybe, but definitely with me, I will help you get tons more fun in your business, which will cause your profits to just multiply in ways that you can't even imagine. And as this fellow said, Lynn, we really don't even know how to dream. So true. So the myth is once you've worked with a coach once or maximum twice, you don't need to work with a coach anymore. There's nothing they can do to help you. BS. I am constantly up-leveling myself. And if you want to be like me, operating your business from a gorgeous place like where I am down here in the Dominican Republic, you can do that. Yes, even in the construction industry, because I work primarily, not only, but primarily with businesses in the construction industry. And those people too can operate their business from anywhere in the world they want to. This is Lynn Jacobs signing off, wishing you tons more fun in your business.